So the Las Vegas Raiders have a massive matchup coming up against the Indianapolis Colts. We have an interesting update that's coming out with the Las Vegas Raiders tight end Brock Bowers. His injury may actually be a lot worse than what we have realized up to this point. And I also want to talk about the Colts game. Truth be told, I think the Raiders actually have a chance to beat this Colts team. Now, they'll obviously have to go out there and do things we really haven't proven that we can kind of do, right? They have to go out there and actually be a good football team on the offensive side. But I think this game matches up well for the Raiders. You know, Daniel Jones is having a lot of success, but a big part of that is he has the best running back, or at least the best run game in the NFL right now that's kind of allowing him to hit those play action passes. And the Raiders have an elite run defense. Believe it or not, we are one of the top run defenses in the NFL, so this matchup fares well for the Raiders, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I also want to get into some other injury updates that are kind of coming out. But we'll start right away with some Brock Bowers talk. So Brock Bowers was not practicing for the Raiders once again today. He did not practice yesterday either. The Raiders took the approach with Bowers that we're going to just have him rest. We're not going to put him into a position where he has to practice. He did practice on day 1, which was Wednesday, but he did not practice on Thursday or Friday. And we weren't 100% sure if this means he's going to potentially be out. But the Raiders have confirmed he will play for the Raiders, right? He will play against the Colts. The Raiders have just essentially went out there and said, we're going to just give Brock Bowers the rest. We want him to try to get back to a point where he's 100%. And a part of that is not having him practice, which obviously makes sense. Bowers doesn't really need to practice. But Brock Bowers was actually interviewed after practice, and some of the media guys, one guy specifically, Ryan McFadden, a shout out to him for actually posting this quote. He actually said something specific with Brock Bowers, and to me, it's kind of unfortunate for Brock Bowers to actually state this, but this gives us the insight into the knee. Ryan McFadden said, tight end Brock Bowers said he's not allowed to share the specifics of his knee injury, but added it's been frustrating to deal with. And this is what Brock Bowers said. He said, I want to be back to going full speed, being able to separate from guys. I feel like I can't really do that to the best of my abilities right now. Think about what Brock Bowers is saying. He's saying, I want to be able to separate from people while running my routes, but I can't do that right now, right? Because of the knee injury. So Brock Bowers is not close to being healthy at this point. And you know, it's really unfortunate because when Brock Bowers got hurt in that first game of the season, if you guys asked me, would I rather have Brock Bowers be like 60% and just play the rest of the season, or would I rather just give him like 3-4 weeks off to get him right? I would have rather just given him the time off. We've lost every game regardless, so if we were to have lost anyways, I would have been okay with that, given that Brock Bowers is getting fully healthy. But Brock Bowers is not healthy. In fact, the Raiders are giving him days off from practice. He still is not fully healthy, and literally today, he said that he wants to get to the point where he is fully healthy because he can't separate right now because of it. So we know the injury is worse than what we were kind of led to believe. Like, I don't think we're going to get to a point. And maybe in like 4 or 5 weeks, he might, ultimately heal. Maybe after the bye week, he might be okay. But it's very clear that he's not okay right now. And I think for the Raiders to potentially put Brock Bowers' future health at risk, for the Raiders to say, hey, we're going to take 60% of Brock Bowers, I think this is a huge mistake for the Raiders. I really do think Pete Carroll has handled this injury situation wrong from literally, day one when the injury actually happened. But I'm not surprised that we're handling this wrong. Truth be told, Pete Carroll's done a lot of crap that makes no sense. From the JPJ situation to this, to going in with a cornerback group where none of it really looked all that good. You had a rookie trying to start. You gave him every opportunity to start. He still wasn't able to start. And then just kind of going in with that group. And I know we haven't really been exposed yet, but I don't know why I have a feeling it's coming. Over the next couple of weeks. We got the Chiefs in 3 weeks, right? But with Brock Bowers basically telling us that, hey, my knee is not 100% and I'm struggling to separate at that point, the tape backs that up. There's a reason why Brock Bowers is struggling right now statistically, but even more than that, he's just not able to run routes, and he's not even out there playing 100% of snaps. Last week, I saw Ian Thomas playing more inline snaps than I saw Brock Bowers, right? Or at least I saw him on more plays, some of the plays that I ended up popping. The Ashton Jeanty touchdown, for example, Ian Thomas was the tight end on that play. The Raheem Mostert long run, Thomas was the tight end on that play as well. So obviously at this point, Brock Bowers is not fully healthy, and I don't understand why the Raiders are continuing to put him out there. They're continuously having him go out there and play. I'd rather just have Brock Bowers take 3 weeks off if that's what it takes and come back after the bye. at the end of the day, I know the Raiders want to win football games, and I know you want to get to a point where you're like maybe 2-4 or 3-3 heading into the bye week. And that would be like the best case scenario for the Raiders, but you want your guys to be fully healthy. And his words don't make me happy right now. Hearing that from him, it's head scratcher. And I would think that the Raiders would be able to figure out that, hey, the health of our star tight end long term makes a lot more sense. But apparently not. I totally disagree with this. But it doesn't look like Brock Bowers will be healthy in this game or the following games as we kind of go forward. Another player that the Raiders will actually not be without as we go forward is going to be linebacker Jermaine Pratt. Vincent Monsenor put this out there. He said that linebacker Jermaine Pratt, and it is not injury related, will not travel with the Raiders to the Indianapolis Colts game, and he is out for Sunday's game. Now, I'm not sure if this guy's just retiring. I don't know. Right? Maybe he's going to retire. Maybe we'll get the news within the next day or two. Or maybe it's something else, and if it is, if it's like a personal thing, I hope everything's okay with him. But this sucks. Like, we're already kind of a struggling team, and our defense hasn't struggled a whole lot, but having Jermaine Pratt out there does make a difference. We're gonna go into this game, and now we're gonna have to rely on some of these other guys for the Raiders, right? It might be Tommy Eichenberg, it might be more of a Landon Roberts. I'm not a fan of a Landon Roberts being out there. I don't think he's good in pass coverage situations. I think Pratt was obviously our best linebacker as a pass cover guy, but he's not going to play. Now, maybe there is some good in this. Maybe the Raiders not having enough linebackers will actually play more nickel defense in this next game because we still play base defense at the highest rate in the NFL. But I guess, the defense isn't totally struggling. So if it's not broken, it is what it is, right? Jermaine Pratt will not travel with the Raiders, so we'll see if he's retiring or if there's something else that kind of happened. But with that, let's just talk about the injury report that's come out. So this is the most recent injury report. This just dropped like an hour or so ago. And the Colts have some guys that are out, and for the Raiders, we just have a bunch of questionable guys. Now, Brock Bowers did not participate on Friday or Thursday. He's questionable, but he is expected to play. Michael Mayer has been limited, and he's questionable. I'm not 100% sure if he'll play, but, Brock Bowers is not 100%. Maybe this is the final game Bowers plays in before he gets like a 3-week break. And then hopefully Mayer, if he doesn't play in this game, can play next week. Maybe we can swap those two guys at some point. But Mayer's obviously coming back from that concussion. Eric Stokes was limited for 3 straight days. He has the knee. That one's going to be interesting. Obviously, he's questionable as he gets into this game. But Eric Stokes is probably our best corner right now. So I think having him out there does make a difference for the Raiders. Kayubu Kelly has struggled a little bit. He was benched against the Commanders. If he continues to struggle, who do you go to at that point? Cameron Richardson. He has a hamstring injury. And I know he practiced in full, but it's there. If he's out there actually playing, who knows what could potentially happen. Regardless, the Raiders are fairly healthy, right? But on the other side, the Colts do have 5 guys that they will not have in this next game that they had last week, including one guy that's retired. So their running back, Tyler Goodson, although they probably don't need him. But you do have 2 injuries at the corner position. This is kind of big, right? So you have Xavier Howard. I guess he retired, so it's not an injury, but he won't play. And then Kenny Moore has an Achilles. He is out. So those 2 guys is big for the Raiders to not have those 2 guys out there. Michael Pittman was the other guy that was kind of questionable, but he's practicing full. So Pittman's good to go as he kind of goes forward. I was hoping that he would miss this game, right? Pittman's obviously a good wide receiver. He is healthy. He's good to go. But I do want to talk about the matchup, right? I want to talk about why I think the Raiders can still find success against the Colts. And we'll just start right away. We'll talk about the Colts offense first against the Raiders defense. Obviously, you guys can see some of these stats here. And more than just the stats, I watch a lot of Colts tape. They're one of the teams that I'll create content for the Football Scout. But more than that, I just value that offensive line. They have an elite offensive line. They have Bernard Ryman at left tackle. They have Quentin Nelson at left guard. Tanner Bortolini at center. Matt Conclaves at right guard, although I don't know if Conclave is going to play in this game. And they have Braden Smith at right tackle, who's pretty solid as well. They have a really, really good offensive line, and they've found a lot of success this season. Jonathan Taylor has been really explosive. He's looked really, really good, and he's going to continue to potentially try to, he's the league leader right now in rushing yards. He's going to try to continue to have success. And the Colts, they're a run-first team. The reason why the Colts have had so much success is because they have an elite offensive line with an elite running back. And when you pair those two things up, you're going to have an elite run game. Now, this is where I think the Raiders could potentially take advantage a little bit of the Colts. And I shouldn't say take advantage, but the Raiders are a good run defense. You can look at the numbers, and do keep in mind there was a 60-yard run that the Commanders had that really skewed those numbers. But without that one run, the Raiders are one of the top 2 or 3 defenses against the run in the NFL. And a part of why we're good against the run is because we go to cover 3 a lot, right? You stack the box in a cover 3. That safety comes down into the box. So if you're the Raiders and you're in cover 3 against the Colts, if you come out in that cover 3 and you shut down the run, well, what happens is Daniel Jones now has to, you might be now in a 3rd and 8. Daniel Jones is going to have to make those passes. And I know Daniel Jones has looked good, but Daniel Jones is still Daniel Jones. He's still the same quarterback. A coordinator, which Shane Steichen's a great coordinator. He's technically their head coach, but he's their play caller. He's done a really good job. But at the end of the day, the quarterback's the quarterback, and the play caller can only do so much. And I say that because if the Raiders on early downs can win, if they can put the Colts into a situation where, we now have to, we're not having success with running the football. We now have to throw the football. We're in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. The Raiders can get off the field in those moments. You obviously have to contain Daniel Jones, right? He'll take off running, but make the guy throw the football, make him beat you with his arm. The Colts don't have elite playmakers when it comes to the receivers, at least not right now, right? In my opinion. Michael Pittman's good, but I don't think he's like truly elite. And then they have a really good tight end, Tyler Warren, some people think. By some people, me, I think he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He will become one of the best. Right? He's like the next Brock Bowers type of tight end. He's probably not as dominant as Brock Bowers, but he's really good. He's not like elite today, but he is good, right? So the Raiders just got to make Daniel Jones make those throws. And again, stack the box. If they can't run the football, I don't think Daniel Jones can be able to beat you. And again, to keep in mind, I know right now the Colts are 3-1, but you're 3-1 because you're able to play some defenses that struggle stopping the run. So when your run game gets going, that play action pass is going to open up. You're able to get those chunk plays because those linebackers now being sucked in. The safety's got to come down. The Raiders have been good against the run. So I think from that instance, this could be a good matchup for the Raiders. Now, if you guys just look at some of the advanced stats, the Colts as an offense, they're the 2nd ranked offense when it comes to success rate. They're the 14th offense when it comes to explosiveness, which that's kind of interesting, right? So their offense isn't super explosive. Now, their run game's pretty explosive, right? Like Taylor will take it 80 yards to the house. But do keep in mind, explosive rate, a lot of that also is just based off the quarterback. So, we'll see what the Raiders can kind of do, as we kind of get into it. We can just look at some of their rushing numbers. They're ranked as the 9th best in rushing success, 15th in explosive plays. So yeah, I think the Raiders can actually have success against the Indianapolis Colts, right? We just have to limit the run game. Now, on the other side of it, obviously, if the Raiders are going to win this football game, it's going to be because of our offense, right? That's it. If I trust the defense is going to do just enough to give the offense an opportunity. But the opportunity that the offense gets, we can't have a 3-interception game from Geno Smith. We need Geno Smith to play a clean game, a perfect game, and we need him to step up for once, right? We need Geno Smith to win us a game. He hasn't won us a game this season. The only game we won because of the defense. And every game up to this point, we've had an opportunity because of the defense. The offense hasn't won us a game, but one thing we did see last week is Ashton Jeanty got going a little bit. And I know we're 1-3, but we could have easily been 2-2 had our tight end Mayer actually have been healthy and maybe blocked the guy, right? That ends up blocking the kick. Jonah Laulu ends up being there because he's the backup guy on the wing on the field goal, 54-yard field goal. Carlson hits that like 99% of the time. We could be 2-2 right now, so we're not a terrible team. I know the record looks like what it looks like, but I think the Raiders are better than what the record suggests. But let's look at the offense for the Raiders. They got to go out there and they got to win this game. Now, one of the things with our offense is we are an explosive offense, right? We are technically more of an explosive offense than the Colts. Now, we're not consistent at sustaining drives, but we do pick up chunk plays pretty well. And, you know, for as bad as Geno Smith has been in this season, the Raiders still have had opportunities to win these games. And part of that is because we're explosive, right? We're able to pick up 40, 50 yards at a time. But the Raiders have to get a clean game out of Geno Smith. He has to be able to have success. And, it's kind of crazy to think this because we're 10th in passing yards a game. We're 15th in rushing yards. So, it's not like the offense is absolutely terrible. Where we struggle is going to be the interceptions, right? 7 interceptions, 8 total takeaways by the offense. That's bad. You can't have that happen. And the Colts, 6 takeaways. So they're one of the teams that kind of takes things away. But even then, the Colts defense, it's not great, right? What's allowed the Colts to win right now is the fact that these guys can force turnovers, but teams do drive downfield, and it's not even like the Colts have elite players at different positions. I think Kwity Paye's pretty good as an edge player. DeForest Buckner is good. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to kind of give us some trouble. But Latu, the defensive end they have, I don't even think he's elite, right? He was a first-round pick last year. I don't think he's shown that he's elite. Even more than that, none of these corners really scare me. I do think Cam Bynum's a pretty good safety, but I think the Raiders can have success. Charvarius Ward, I think, is way past his prime at this point. Or at least I would think that, he had more success in previous years than I think what he's kind of having now. Nick Cross, Mekhi Blackman, these guys aren't guys that are top tier guys, right? The Colts defense is not elite. They give up yards, they give up chunk plays, they give up explosive plays, but they do take the football away. They intercept passes. They've had some fumbles. Again, to me, the Raiders just have to play a clean game on the offensive side. Geno Smith has to win this game in terms of, don't turn the ball over, score some points. Or if Geno Smith can get the Raiders to 24 points or even 28 points, I think there's a chance the defense, you force one turnover, maybe the defense gets 3 points for the offense. You're looking at 28, 31 points. But again, you can't turn the ball over. You got to sustain drives. And again, just keep this in mind. We found success last week against the Bears a little bit. Right? You look at where the Raiders were after that Chargers game, going into the Commanders game, right? It was kind of crappy to where they were at against the Bears, just a little bit better. Maybe they'll have a little bit of momentum as we kind of get into this game coming up against the Colts. We'll see what ends up happening, man. I do think the Raiders have a real shot against the Colts. I don't think the Indianapolis Colts are as good as what their record indicates at this point. I think the Raiders are better than their record. I don't think the Colts are as good as their record, right? But do keep in mind, the Colts do run the ball well, and if the Raiders can't stop the run, this game's over, right? And that too, obviously, Geno has to do his thing, right? Geno can easily lose this game the way he has already 2 games, right? The Chargers, and then even this most recent week. We'll see what ends up happening, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. Do the Raiders have a real shot? Do you guys think Brock Bowers has been mismanaged a little bit? Let me know in the comments below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.